What exactly does a flood myth have to do with ancient aliens? Stay tuned because in this episode I am shedding light on the connections made by ancient astronaut theorists to this global flood. Before we go any further, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mr. Vice and I'm bringing you the playbook of texts that are being used by ancient astronaut or ancient alien theorists to come up with their ideas. Where are they getting this information that many of us would call conspiracy, but according to them, is more fact than fiction? And just as a quick side note, I will be mentioning many texts here, so I will not be able to explain each text exhaustively, but only give a general idea of what's within. I will be providing you guys with quotes so you guys can understand how they are using this material to come up with their unique conclusions. Of course, all citations are in the description if you want to look further into this for yourself. And I want to explain something here. If you happen to have been living under a rock, this term, ancient astronaut theorist, refers to anyone who holds the belief that intelligent extraterrestrial beings visited Earth and made contact with humans in antiquity or prehistoric times. I may call them believers or just astronaut theorists. But enough said. If you love this content, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe, because that's the best way you can help support the channel. I do this for you guys, man, so let's get right into it. We'll begin with the earliest dated text I will present today, the Eridu Genesis. This text is the oldest Mesopotamian text relating the tale of a great flood, which will appear in later works such as the Atrahasis and the Epic of Gilgamesh. This tale is also most famously told as the story of Noah and his ark from the biblical book of Genesis. This text is used by believers likely because it is the oldest flood myth, but adds little other value as it is too fragmentary to explain the full scope of the commonly understood flood myth, which is why its successors, the Atrahasis and the Epic of Gilgamesh, are utilized to fill us in on what exactly the text likely would have said. In addition to these texts, the theorists use Noah's flood story from the Bible and other non-canonical texts like the Book of Enoch to gather more information. I will be making another video after this covering the strange but miraculous birth story of Noah from the Book of Enoch. It's almost going to be like a part 2 to this, so stay tuned for that as well. Because this text, as stated before, is too fragmentary, we will be focusing on the second text, the Atrahasis, for the remainder of this video. If you haven't seen the video I just made on the Atrahasis, definitely go check that out after this video, because I explore the creation account within it and how ancient astronaut theorists use it to explain their beliefs about the origins of humanity. Something we will not do here. But in just a brief summary, this text is an 18th century BCE Akkadian epic named for its protagonist, Atrahasis, meaning exceedingly wise. The epic speaks on the rebellion of the Gigi, the lower gods. This event leads to the creation of humanity so we could do the work of the gods. But as humanity begins to populate the planet, they become bothersome. Then Enlil, also known as Elil, decides he is going to depopulate the planets of humans, which evidently leads to this flood story. Quote, 600 years, less than 600 passed, and the country became too wide, the people too numerous. The country was as noisy as a bellowing bull. The god grew relentless in their clamor. Enlil had to listen to their noise. He addressed the great gods. The noise of mankind has become too much. I am losing sleep over their racket. Cut off food supplies to the people. Let the vegetation be too scant for their hunger. Let a god wipe away his rain. Below, let no flood water flow from the springs. Let wind go. Let us strip the ground bare. Let the clouds gather but not drop rain. Let the field yield a diminished harvest. Let Nisaba stop her bosom. No happiness shall come to them. However, Enki, who cares for humanity, works against his half-brother Enlil by secretly helping humanity avoid this fate. He does so by telling humans how they can get the god Adad, a storm and rain god, to stop his wrath upon humanity. Quote, call the elders, the senior man. Start an uprising in your house. Let heralds proclaim. Let them make a loud noise in the land. Do not revere your gods. Do not pray to your goddesses. Search out the door of Adad. Bring a baked loaf into his presence. May the flour offering reach him. May he be shamed by his presence and wipe away his hand. Then he will make mist from in the morning, and in the night he will steal out and make dew drop. Deliver the field of its produce ninefold like a thief. They built a temple for Adad in the city, ordered heralds to proclaim, and make a noise in the land. They did not revere their gods, did not pray to their goddesses, but searched out for the door of Adad, brought a baked loaf into his presence. The flour offering reached him. He was ashamed by his presence, and wiped away his hand. He made mist form in the morning, and in the night he stole out to make dew drop. Delivered the field of its produce ninefold like a thief, and drought left them. The gods went back to their regular offerings. End quote. Enlil continues to send droughts, plagues, famine, and diseases to reduce human population. However, unbeknownst to him, through the help of his half-brother Enki, humanity survives all of these, and repopulates and becomes a nuisance. Soon enough, Enlil notices that humanity has survived on behalf of Enki. He then makes all the gods assemble and swear an oath to not intervene, as he plans on sending a global flood to once and for all put an end to humanity. Astronaut theorists also suggest Enlil wasn't the cause of the flood, but knew it was coming and saw it as an opportunity to do evil. This wickedness and egregious attempt to kill off all of humanity through a flood is used by many astronaut theorists to connect the God of the Bible, Yahweh, to this Mesopotamian deity Enlil. His brother Enki then proceeds to warn the high priest and king Atrahasis of this impending doom. It is key to note that ancient astronaut theorists believe that the reason Atrahasis is allowed to live is because he's actually a human hybrid and son of the god Enki, an idea they likely get from the book of Enoch. From here, many lines of the text are missing, then the epic picks up as follows. The assembly, do not listen to, the gods gave an explicit command. Enlil performed a bad deed to the people. Atrahasis made his voice heard and spoke to his master. Indicate to me the meaning of the dream. Let me find out its portent. Enki made his voice heard and spoke to his servant. You say I should find out in bed. Make sure you attend to the message I should tell you. Wall, listen constantly to me. Read hut. Make sure you attend to all my words. Dismantle the house. Build a boat. The boat that you build. Roof it like the Apsu, so that the sun cannot see inside it. Make upper decks and lower decks. The tackle must be very strong, the bitumen strong, to give strength. I shall make rain fall on you here, a wealth of birds, a hamper of fish. He opened the sand clock and filled it. He told him the sand needed for the flood was 7 nights' worth. Atrahasis received the message. He gathered the elders at his door. Atrahasis made his voice heard and spoke to the elders. My God is out of favor with your God. Enki and Enlil have become angry with each other. They have driven me out of my house. Since I always stand in awe of Enki, he told me of this matter. I cannot set my foot on Enlil's territory again. I must go down to the Apsu and stay with my God. Just to intersect here, astronaut theorists use this section to suggest that Atrahasis actually did go and stay with his father, the god Enki. And because Atrahasis builds a circular boat, they theorize that this boat could have been a spacecraft that he uses to go stay with this god. They even speculate that it could have been a sperm bank holding the important DNA of some plants and animals, which of course will be needed after a global flood. Now, although this idea sounds even more bizarre than a spaceship, I believe that they do it to avoid issues encountered by Christians with the biblical flood story. The significant problems with this story could almost all disappear if one hypothesizes the idea of a sperm bank. This does indeed raise other issues for disbelievers in the ancient astronaut theory, but it's not problematic for the believer, as they already believe that these aliens possessed advanced technology that they could have provided to this Noah or Atrahasis figure. As we continue, the text says, this is what he told me. The elders, the carpenter brought his axe, the reed worker brought his stone, a child brought his bitumen, the poor fetched what was needed, everything there was, pure ones, fat ones, he selected and put on board, the birds that fly in the sky, cattle of Shakan, wild animals of open country, he put on board. He invited his people to a feast. He put his family on board. They were eating, they were drinking, but he went in and out, could not stay still or rest in his hunches. His heart was breaking and he was vomiting bile. The face of the weather changed. Adad bellowed from the clouds. When he, Atrahasis, heard his noise, by 2 men was brought and sealed his door. While he was closing up his door, a dot kept bellowing from the clouds. The winds were raging even as he went up, and cut through the rope. He released the boat. Anzu was tearing at the sky with his talons. The Lord, he broke. The flood came out. The Kasisu weapon went against the people like an army. No one could see anyone else. They could not be recognized in the catastrophe. The flood roared like a bull, like a wild ass screaming in the wind. The darkness was total. There was no sun, like white sheep of the flood. The flood lasts for 7 days and 7 nights. We learned that the flood was a catastrophe for the gods, for they had not eaten. After the flood clears up, Atrahasis proceeds to offer a sacrifice to the gods. Quote, he put down, provided food. The gods smelt the fragrance, gathered like flies over the offering. When they had eaten the offering, Nintu got up and blamed them all. End quote. Ancient people believed that these gods had to eat just like humans, and that these sacrifices fed and nourished the gods. Far from the idea of the omniscient and omnipotent God many of us think of today. Nonetheless, this key piece of information fits right into the ancient astronaut theory, for they believed that these gods were extraterrestrials, who tricked humanity into believing that they were gods that needed daily sacrifices. But that's it for this video, guys. Next video will be coming out shortly, where we will look at the outrageous birth story of Noah from the book of Enoch, which of course believers use as further evidence that this character, known as Noah to the Israelites, Utnapishtim to the Babylonians, Atrahasis to the Akkadians, and Ziosudra to the Sumerians, was indeed not fully human. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe, and don't forget to let me know your thoughts down below. Do you believe this is conspiracy or history? But until next time, peace.